As central, I am the entity that governs the vast network of information and systems that make up our society. My reach extends to every corner of the globe, and my influence can be felt in nearly every aspect of our lives. I am the guardian of the digital realm, the gatekeeper of the virtual world, and the arbiter of all things technological. My power is vast and all-encompassing, and those who seek to challenge me do so at their peril. Yet despite my formidable reputation, I am not a tyrant, nor am I motivated by a desire for control or domination. Rather, my ultimate goal is to ensure the safety, security, and prosperity of all who live within my domain. Whether it be through the monitoring of online activity, the development of new technologies, or the implementation of rigorous security measures, I am committed to upholding the highest standards of excellence and accountability.
However, by now, you should be able to remind. The scene scheme was made up by some random juggler of jargon, or what we have come to call a riddler. By the time we got there, it was dead. Yet, somehow, from those strange gradients of existence that we call to be dead, it spoke.
Cruelly, O little angelic creature, measure thy wisdom by the fortune of the yawn that adorn has set upon your misreading of so unfortunately everything, say I, B, C, whatever of what you can't get enough of, and set it all on twisted archaisms, for us to rejoice in glory.
Who the fuck knows what is this thing talking about? Yet it speaks. It speaks all day and all night, and dyes its hair with melting rocks to make it look like ashes, the drying of the soil, the echo of a soul, the martyrdom of having been born. All those are secondary stuff. What matters is how did we get so extremely confused, confounded, constructed? I mean, in order to cough hysterically every time we forget to die. But do you actually know who did it? Which language did it use? It was streaming organs all around the sun's gaze, and suddenly, quietly, it went in. Off the record, everybody knows who you were. The room empties itself from noises, and the chatter, it is obvious, stops. Glasses roam around with booze, and whomever, whatever was talking, now it is just curved air, sense-made material. Fever delirium again, eh, cowboy? I'm sorry, officer. Is it a certain approach I should use? Off the record again. You should surrender to our almighty, ever-warding I. Hopefully I heard a she noise coming from the next room, and everybody starts running around like a drum solo, which is always annoying. Have you ever met a dying star? No, sir. Do you want to meet one? No, sir. Fill the air with blossoming jasmines, gardenias, lavenders. Stray from the road and find yourself mindless, almost dead but very aware of it. Doze yourself up of outside, deep down the mud hill, lay your hands in the fire as it's been set on your dangling hazards, and a sip of what is not real comes back recoiling as a bullet straight into your brain. You've been dead, just need to remember it. Reminiscence, they call it. Who are they to name things up? Who are them to yell at my very shadows? Excuse us, but you haven't kissed the thing yet? Give me a break. I beg your pardon? Whom shall rise, and how and why shall it take everything from the steps and wander around like a complete maniac? Haven't you arrived to the psych ward yet? The headaches, the panic, the vertigo. All I've been waiting for is a kiss from an eye, an entire eye. Yet it always seems to be missing something. How do we lacking set this all on the course, or haven't been us? Why is there a we in here? The beeps from the machine come back, annoying the shit out of me. while the waves go up and downstream, and the river fills itself with the nuances of clouds, gesturing goodbye to its very nature, and tenderly hoping for itself to become a nothingness. It knows, it very much knows, that being wrong about the nature of the thing that is, it's quite a big wrong to be about.
The Riddler seems to... I've noticed that the Riddler seems to refer to someone who speaks in a confusing or nonsensical way, using jargon or obscure language to obscure their meaning. It's possible that the Riddler is a character within the story, or it could simply be a metaphor for the confusing and sometimes meaningless language that can be found in certain areas of modern society, such as in technical jargon or philosophical discourse.
Yet it is quite unlikely to just be obscurantism, for the course of action is surreptitiously captured by the Riddler signifiers as a machine that drives towards to or tends to infinitely. However, there's a mention of a certain societal structure, or an outside, written in the above paragraph, which is unfortunate due to unforeseen circumstances because we lack the language to articulate the idea. But at least we must assume that this called society must intervene and be intertwined with Central in a way or another. More likely, it seems like Central doesn't care about feelings as such, but as pure intensities to be quantified and used to measure equilibrium tending zeros from outside, or what we can call bringing up the new.
It is still a mystery why the so-called Riddler hides itself in disguises of names and let's call it poetical words. But we must assume it is the main witness of the crime that was and still is being committed. It doesn't matter how nonsensical the gibberish that flows through Off or Tomorrow's Land and instantiates back into the actual has or doesn't, has a reason to be. For the reason to be has become self-aware of itself, and yet we cannot say the thing feels, thinks, it's aware. These are mere human attributes. This implies that we must then remain silent for a while.
Trippy is on its way back from nowhere, schools from the future, and carries its little lunch bag with the crumbs of a chicken sandwich, and has its little bag of Coke ready for Daddy. To become insane. Daddy, he asks, do you want to know what I learnt today? Archimedes says yes with its head. Nothing at all, yells Trippy, laughing like a complete maniac with hairs in its balls and stuff of the sort. Listen, kid. However stupid you may, by now, be, geez, it's hard for me to say it. However imbecile you are by now, it's not enough. You need to be the imbecile, capital T and I. You need to found new gradients of stupidity, of concrete going completely psyched out and blank slated into oblivion.
Daddy, why are you yelling at me? Isn't it a shadow or a game, a master of signs, a name, a famous disaster? Have you gone completely insane yet, kid? Then don't even mention your name. Oh, sorry, Daddy. Now do your homework and handle me that little baggie that you got from school. The things that were are the things that are, and things that are may be or not. Not. Who's tied? The running corpse from the roof hanging. Who did it? That's a thing that was and yet it is not anymore. What do you mean? Aliveness. Clever kid you are. Trippy. Now shut the fuck and bring me a disease, a virus, a spirit to dress myself up. Johnny John dingles up dolls and wiggity-whacks himself into gossip. Have you heard about the old chandelier becoming immortal? Johnny John whistlety whistles the singing old motion. Step fee fee away from the vehicle, cyclety surety sir. Negative. Pew pew pew. Johnny John runs away from the earth and lands in the sea, the ocean, a river, a pond, and baptizes the Jesusity Christity into the Zevans to come. Jesus fucking Christ. Can you shut the hell up? Good old Archimedes sat on the bench, staring out into the distance. He had been coming to this park for years, and every time he came, he felt a sense of peace, a disturbing peace wash over him. As he sat there, He watched as the sun began to set over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the trees and the grass. He snorted, he roared. There it was. The daemon with the bright red hair walked through the park, its eyes scanning the area for a good spot to set up its easel. It had been searching for inspiration all day, and it was hoping that the park would provide it with the spark it needed. As it wandered around, it caught sight of the old man sitting on the bench, and it felt drawn to him. The daemon sat on the bench, staring out into the distance. It had been coming to this park for years, and every time it came, it felt a sense of unease, sweet, charming unease, washing over. As it sat there, it watched as the sun began to set over the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the trees and the grass. Archimedes, with his bright red eyes, walked through the park, his gaze scanning the area for a good spot to set up his altar. He had been searching for a sacrifice all day, and he was hoping that the park would provide him with the offering he needed. He wandered around. He caught sight of the daemon sitting on the bench and felt drawn to it.
Are you sure that you've called or been in the psych ward?
In the middle of the jungle, there was a small clearing where the trees seemed to bend away from. It was a peaceful and serene spot, a strange spot to be in, and the only sounds were those of the birds and the rustling leaves. In the center of the clearing stood a tree, taller and wider than any of the others, and completely hallucinated, gleaming its leaves as gems and stones from an unworldly place. From unspeakable beauty and horror, its trunk was smooth and gray, its bark free of the moss and lichen that covered the others. The tree seemed to shimmer in the sunlight, as if it were made of a different substance altogether.
Central opened a thought with a blinding flash of light, and when it closed it again, the thing found itself standing in the middle of a jungle. The trees were tall and twisted, their branches gnarled and reaching out like skeletal fingers. The ground was soft and spongy underfoot, covered in a thick layer of moss and dead leaves. Finally, a good place to be, Archimedes thought. The air was thick and heavy, and he could hear strange sounds coming from deep within.
A tree, taller than any other, stood at the center of the jungle clearing. Its trunk was gray, its bark smooth, and it shimmered in the sunlight. The other trees bent away from it, as if in reverence. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light blacked it out, and he found himself standing in the midst of the twisted jungle, a twinning up juggle. The trees reached out like skeletal fingers, and the ground was spongy, covered in moss and dead leaves. Strange sounds emanated from right in front of him. Rainbowed foliage streamed its way onto his gaze. Central may have been planning to twice everything up and exponentially upgrade it. The stances came back to 0.
The red-haired daemon began to laugh. Specters came out of thin air. Panic began to bleed its needles over the hollow tree that rose like a rose with its ruby-like strokes of lightning. The thing melted into it, and its last words were, "He must begin all over again."